5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Talk the Talk, RTR-FM's weekly show about linguistics, the science of language. For the next hour, we're going to be bringing you language news, language diversity, and some great music. Maybe we'll even hear from you. My name's Daniel Midgley. I'm here with Ben Ainsley.
Good morning.
And Kylie Sturgis.
G'day, everyone.
On this episode, we are looking into Pidgin, West African Pidgin English, that is. Millions of people speak it, but now it's getting a big boost from the BBC World Service. What's this language like? And will it change now that it's hit the world stage? We're going to find out on this episode of Talk the Talk.
So good to be back.
Nice to have you both.
Nice to see both of you. I feel so out of touch with the world when I don't do this show. I get so much information and so much buzz. So.
Really?
Yeah, I do. It's like I have to be on the cutting edge of what's going on in the world. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to contribute. You guys just know everything.
Well, we best fix her jonesing appetite and get her filled up in what's going on in the world of linguistics in the week gone past. Daniel,
Hit me up.
Hit
me
it.
up.
There was one story that was just too good to miss.
Oh.
Bob Catter.
I missed it.
Who is this guy?
Bob Catter is... I want our international audience to picture the crazy Texan guy from The Simpsons with his big 10-gallon hat. It's like an Australian human version of that guy. He's this big, sort of buffoonish caricature.
Well, he made a statement about the word gay. Kylie, give us the lowdown.
Apparently, Bob Catter has lashed out at the gay community, accusing them of stealing the word gay because for him it means something extra special. He got a very high mark when he matriculated in English. He got an 84%. Well done, Bob.
That's good.
And he had studied a text called The Rape of the Lock, written by Alexander Pope. And in it, the word gay is used not only once but twice, but the one he focused on was Belinda smiled and all the world was gay. And apparently gay people have stolen that word from the English language, and Bob Catter's just furious about it and he wants it back.
It's like some kind of linguistic raid.
Yes.
They all put down their shandies.
We're having it!
One day in the 60s and said, this is really going to drive Bob Catter nuts in 50 years.
Yeah. This weird, presumably already 45-year-old man in the 60s is going to be really mad when he's 152 and wearing a dumb hat. I kind of feel like there's got to be a statute of limitations on this crap. Like... Sorry, Bob Catter, if you were peed off about the gays using gay, you might have wanted to jump on it sometime in the last 40 years.
Is he my mother? Because this is what she used to say. She's a lovely woman, but, she used to say this kind of thing. It's like, oh, I hate how they took that word and made it their own. And this is exactly what Bob Catter's doing.
I'm hoping he doesn't discover rainbows. I mean, I'm wearing at the moment a very lovely rainbow bandana.
Well, what happened wasn't, some kind of appropriation. It was just normal semantic shift. So let's take a look at the course that gay has taken.
Ooh! Let's do a quick, 100-year-long gay montage.
Okay, here we go. In the 1300s, gay meant mirthful and merry, but then some people were just a little too merry. So then by the 1600s, gay meant somebody who was given to pleasure, living a life of dissipation.
Like a hedonist, almost.
A gay Lothario. That's the term that you might hear.
But not
taking Instagrams all the time.
Maybe.
Back then.
But not locked to any kind of sexuality necessarily.
Not necessarily, but that would change by the 1800s because this term gay became applied to women living an immoral life, especially women who were sex workers. She was leading a gay life, is the kind of thing you might say.
So sexual, but not homosexual.
No, but that changed because I think lots of gay dudes were hanging around that community, like sex workers, theater people, you know what I mean? So by the 1900s, the term gay was applied to male homosexuals, and then by the late 1900s, applied to lesbians, even though lesbian came first.
Interesting.
Okay.
And now we're seeing it morphing again to mean something stupid and bad. All very natural, no linguistic raids, nobody decided, let's go take over this word. However, I think this idea that other people are coming for something that's yours, that's very revealing of Catter's mentality in lots of ways.
Yes. We just keep coming back to this idea. It must really hurt when privilege gets taken away because these people kick up one hell of a fuss.
Bob Catter, if you ever use a rainbow again, that's cultural appropriation, and we're going to haul you in front of the PC police. Don't even think about it.
The PC police.
It's a real thing. It's totes real.
Let's not tell him about unicorns. We're going to have a whole new battle.
You've been warned.
Is that the news?
Not yet.
What else?
Our friend Wolf of the Wisp wanted to make sure we were across this, so here's a couple of stories about sounds.
I'm all about sounds.
Let's do it.
Sound is like my second favorite sense.
Yep. I really like sight, but sound, you're doing real good work as well. Poor smell. It's just always like smell isn't bad. It just doesn't. It's just not as good.
It's very evocative, but it's a bit hit and miss as far as smells go. Well, researchers have found how the human brain detects the music of speech, what linguists call prosody.
Prosody?
Prosody with a D.
Oh, prosody.
Prosody. This is very complicated because I can say the same sentence two different ways, and that gives it different meanings. Like, try this. I did not say you stole the red book.
I did not say you stole the red book.
I did not say you stole the red book.
I did not say you stole the red book.
I did not say you stole the red book.
I did not say you stole the red book.
Yeah, I'm dry.
I did not say you stole the red book.
Right? Okay. So the emphasis matters.
So, but there's more to it because Kylie and I could say that same sentence and, my voice was higher sometimes and lower sometimes, but her voice is higher than mine all the time.
True.
So our brains have to accommodate that too. So there's some research about this.
Essentially, what people at the UCSF Epilepsy Centre, specialising in surgeries to remove brain tissue, had a look at what was going on with the brain, a part called the superior temporal gyrus, or the STG. And research previously has shown that it might have some role in processing speech prosody, which is now a new word for me as well.
Yeah, prosody.
Yeah.
The superior temporal gyrus is really interesting because that's the thing that you use to help you turn off people in a noisy conversation, like when there's a noisy party.
Oh, interesting.
You can turn off people's conversations and just focus on one.
That's a really, really important part of my brain. I like that part. Well done, brain.
Apparently, there's distinct groups of neurons in the brain's temporal cortex that distinguish speaker, phonetics, and intonation. So that's a heck of a lot of work going on there.
They found that some neurons help you to distinguish between the words in totally different sentences, the vocabulary, and then some neurons help you recognize when different people are saying the same sentence, like Kylie versus me.
Okay.
And then other neurons help you to distinguish intonational contours when the same person says the same sentence.
Man, the brain is super weird.
Like,
can we just acknowledge how bananas it is?
But there's something even stranger, and that's brain chemistry.
Oh, God. What now?
Well, there's a study that's just come out that shows that if you control a single brain chemical, it could help us to expand our window for learning speech and music.
What do you mean?
Apparently, it's about a chemical in the brain, neuromodulator adenosine.
One of the things we complain about as we get older is that we don't have as much brain plasticity. Children seem to learn language really well, but adults don't seem to. But this team found that reducing the adenosine that you got increases brain plasticity in mice.
So adenosine essentially is mind cement.
It makes your brain stickier.
Right.
They played a tone for mice, and then when they played the same tone a long time later, weeks or months later, the mice still responded to it.
I get you. So they were like, hey, it's that funny tone.
And they were also able to distinguish between very similar tones, and they don't usually have good pitch.
Yeah.
Mice no.
Because there's very little in mice land that is going to result from a pitch difference resulting in bonking or dying, and that's how they acquire skills, right?
There's no Lady Gaga in mice world. Sorry,
it's really not.
That's why Ratatouille was about cooking and not music. Right?
We can handle this. Yep. Okay, we go.
So this research helps us figure out how our brains process the sound in language, and someday it may even help us to prolong our ability to learn these sounds. Big thanks to Wolf of the Wisp for getting us to check this stuff out.
Cool. So basically, we're one step closer to downloadshittoyourbrain.com.
Well, I don't know about that. But
one step. There's many steps. All right. I didn't say it was like we're nearly there. It's just one more step.
Maybe baby steps.
Baby steps.
Baby mice steps.
Tiny little baby mice steps.
With their ratty feet.
Thinking of ratty feet, shall we take a track?
Yes, let's do. Let's listen to M. Burrows and the Bearded Rainbow with Solitary Sounds. Now remember, if you have any questions about the stuff that you're hearing, why don't you get those to us right now? That's talkthetalk@rtrfm.com.au or ring us up 9260921.
As always, you can yummy down on the wonderful community of Talk the Talk fans at the Talk the Talk Facebook page.
And you can always hop onto Twitter, #RTRFM or TalkRTR.
If you are just tuning in, this week on Talk the Talk, we are talking about Pidgin. Not the bird, the stuff in language. Now, Daniel, Kylie, I have a question.
Yep.
So what's the difference between a pidgin and a Creole?
Let's say that there are two groups of people that come together and they need to communicate with each other, but just in a simple way. Like maybe they're not smushed together. Maybe they only come together at certain times of the year, or contact is limited.
Right. Okay. I get you. So you could either have two communities that live side by side but have very heavy levels of stratification, like Group A do Group A things and Group B do Group B things, or you have two disparate communities who do have to regularly, but not particularly often, come together and get stuff done.
Right. So they'll cobble together a kind of language called a pidgin. It's very simple. It has very limited vocabulary.
It's very stuff-oriented, isn't it? It's like it's very utilitarian.
You can't talk about anything you want to. It's only for the domain that they're in.
You're unlikely to be able to go, now, how do we truly love unconditionally? Like conversations like that are not on the cards.
Then something might happen. It might just happen that that group of speakers ends up with that pidgin as their only language. The only language.
How?
Let me describe a situation where this happens.
Okay.
Let's say that a bunch of people are grabbed and enslaved.
Yeah.
Good thing that's never happened in Earth history.
So maybe you have two or three different people who speak different languages.
Right.
They can't use any one of their own languages, but they're also denied access to the dominant language, like English.
Yep.
So they might pick one of the languages, and that can happen sometimes, but sometimes they'll just take the pidgin that's been cobbled together, and they'll just beef that up until it becomes a full language, and then it becomes a Creole.
So when does it stop being pidgin and start becoming Creole?
It becomes a Creole when that generation of speakers has kids, and it becomes their first language.
Okay, so this is the thing. This is what I've heard, is that pidgin is utilitarian and it's stuff-oriented and it's just getting things done. And then they have kids.
And that's their Creole.
But more particularly, kids just do grammar, right? So they're speaking this pidgin-y language, but because their brains just do the grammar, right, they just kind of figure it out. And so whatever grammar they bring to the table is the Creole's grammar.
But the vocabulary usually comes from the dominant language, like English or French or whatever it is.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
So you're getting a bit of a trickle-down effect.
Right. And the language that the vocabulary comes from is known as the lexifier language.
Oh, okay.
Well, the BBC World Service has begun transmitting news in West African Pidgin English, and they're just calling it BBC Pidgin.
Okay. Now, you just lost me again.
Okay.
Because I'm assuming West Africa has been without slavery for a while now.
Well, that's true.
So why is it still a pidgin and not a Creole?
You are absolutely right. It's
so
actually
this is a dumb naming convention on our part.
This is a dumb naming convention. It's just called pidgin. It's actually a Creole. There are tons of languages around the world called pidgin. They're actually Creoles.
Okay, so a pidgin is actually a very specific thing linguistically, and it actually is a kind of a flash in the pan as far as language is concerned.
Very much.
And so it's usually pidgin is just the thing that has to happen before a Creole is formed.
Right, and one important thing to remember is that this isn't English. I mean, English has been the lexifier language, but this is a different language than English with its own rules. Yeah, some of the words are going to sound kind of the same, but they'll also have their own meanings.
So I sit down, I switch on BBC Pidgin, and I'm not able to understand it, most likely.
Do you want to give it a try?
Heck yes, I do.
Okay, so let's listen to a bit from BBC Pidgin.
India one make President Akufo-Addo of Ghana and President Obiang of Equatorial Guinea join one group with them called International Solar Alliance. The work of this group now to see how countries will use sun-produced solar energy.
BBC Pidgin.
Were you able to tell what that was about?
I can't remember the names, but two presidents have come together to form a working group to talk about some organisation that's trying to further solar energy.
That's what I got too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just read the last sentence. The work of this group now to see how countries use sun-produced solar energy.
The work of this group is now to see how countries can produce solar energy.
Oh, you're getting pretty close there. We'll hone in on the specific words in the second half.
Exciting.
Let's talk a bit about the language itself.
Okay.
This is West African Pidgin English, also called Guinea Coast Creole English. Actually, it's got a lot of names. It's called Nigerian Pidgin. It's called Niger. It's spoken widely across West Africa, from Gambia to Cameroon. It was a simple trade language in the 17th and 18th centuries between Europeans and Africans, and over time it grew and became a full language. We don't know how many people speak it. There are about 3 to 5 million people who use it as a primary language, but half of Nigeria could know it as a second language. That's like 75 million people in Nigeria alone.
Yeah.
Phew.
Apparently, there's also a certain amount of social divide as well. An article that I have here, for example, says that for once, it is the well-heeled, well-educated community who is scrambling to keep up. It's a language that belongs to nobody at the same time as belonging to everybody, says Bernard Caron, a linguist specialising in Nigeria at France's CNRS Research Institute. It unites the country, it reappropriates English while asserting its own identity.
Right. It used to be that you had to be the one in the suit speaking standard English to have the prestige, but...
Now it's on the radio. Now it's not only on the nightclub floor, it's people starting to be confident enough to speak it to each other on the streets.
Now, are we likely to see upper crust members of Africa kind of still looking down their nose at Pidgin for the most part?
Yeah, maybe, but it's going to be a lot harder. I mean, I don't want to make too big a deal out of the BBC granting legitimacy to this language.
That's
because
true.
It's already legitimate to the people who speak it.
Right.
But when a language gets support from a world organization like the BBC...
There is prestige attached to that.
It is. It's like, this is like an affirmation saying this is now a major language. Especially when people say that this language is a threat to English, or that it's not a real language, or it's only spoken by poor people or stupid people. Well, this is a way of saying, nah. Now, at the same time, the BBC picking this up is kind of a milestone. Because remember, West African Pidgin English is mostly a spoken language. Mm-hmm. It has a written form, but it's not very well agreed upon. It's not very standardized.
I can imagine across that many nations and stuff, it would be very...
It's going to be quite flexible too.
Yeah.
They're going to say, hey, let's start grabbing all bits of language and popping it in there. We can do this.
English was as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it has been.
Back in the day, especially in the early days of the printing press, when you had like America and England and stuff all doing their own thing, man, they were playing fast and loose.
Yeah, I'm not saying that English used to be a Creole, although some people do wonder about that.
Ooh.
But now English is in another stage. It's in a stage that I call standardization, where they start making dictionaries and books and it gets locked down. This Pidgin isn't like that. Not at all. Not at all. There hasn't even been a lot of writing in the language, but you know what? That's going to change, because now every day the BBC is going to be cranking out tons of news stories in Pidgin.
Of course. And what they write and their scripts.
And their editing.
Yes.
And
this is
students coming in.
This is quickly going to be the biggest corpus of written Pidgin, isn't it?
And this is going to play a part in the standardization, for better or worse. I just hope they make good decisions about how to standardize it.
Well, I mean, how switched on linguistically do you think the BBC is in this particular situation, insofar as the people, especially the sub-editors and the editors involved in all of these news institutions, are basically making the decisions that will dictate how this language gets standardized? Now, do you think that there's conversations going on in the BBC that take on board that, or do you think they're just doing what the BBC do, which is writing news copy?
Man, I hope so. I mean, I noticed that in the promotional material for this, a lot of the people who are doing the work are native speakers.
Well, that's good.
But remember, this is not a standardized language, so even the native speakers could have differences in how they do it.
Does it all become suddenly Nigerian Pidgin African? Because a lot of Nigerians are doing it. Or does it all become Ghanaian or, whatever?
Exactly. Who knows? I sure hope they're having good discussions about this, because this is really monumental. This is the step that takes this language from Pidgin to then Creole and then to standardized. But this is pretty heavy stuff.
Shall we play a track?
Yes, let's listen to one by, who else could we play? Fela Kuti, of course, the originator of Afrobeat. This one is Water No Get Enemy on RTR-FM 92.1.
And we are talking about the, not birth, but perhaps next step in the evolution of a language that has been around for a couple of centuries in Africa, loosely called many different things, but we're going to go with West African Pidgin.
Yep.
And we've been discussing the fact that because the BBC has started broadcasting news in this language, in this Creole, crazy big frontiers are opening up.
Yeah, and there's some really unhelpful ideas going on in the coverage of this, I've noticed. First of all, let's start with the name. I think it's really unfortunate that they're calling it BBC Pidgin.
Yeah, because it's not, first of all.
Yes, we're colonising the pidgin now. Here we go. No.
It gives the impression that there's like only one pidgin language in the entire world, and there are hundreds with millions of speakers.
Yep.
And in fact, West African Pidgin English isn't just one thing. It's known for its inventiveness and its creativity, but also for its lack of standardization. I noticed this headline from Quartz. The BBC's newest service uses a language made up of street slang. Really?
Oh,
street slang?
Bingo.
What?
Yeah, that's not the most helpful way to typify.
Ding, 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 ding. Every time we hear something classist or racist, I'm going to go ding.
Creoles don't get a lot of respect, I mean, especially because they have their roots in the slave trade, so naturally there's not much prestige there.
Ding.
And in fact, even the name of the language, like some people call it pidgin, some people call it Nigerian pidgin, some people call it broken or broken.
Ding.
Yeah.
Aww.
So
it's not broken, it's working. That's the point.
It's the exact opposite of broken. It's like the stuff that was before was broken and they made it work, hence the language.
They made it awesome.
Yeah.
So let's just dig in a little bit to the structure of this language. And I want to show that this is not broken English. This is a functioning, orderly, logical way of doing things. I want you to take part in the competition.
Woo!
Here we go.
Yeah.
You've been missing this, I can tell, Ben.
I'm ready. I'm pumped. Let's do this. Carly. You're going down. You're going down.
All I really want you to do is figure out what this means.
Okay.
So here's a sentence. I no sabi.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand. That's what I think.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I thought you were going to say I don't know, because when we have the word savvy, like if someone's savvy, like they don't know. But yes, it does. It means I don't understand the
What
thing that you're
telling
saying.
me. Yeah.
Just about every European-based Creole has some version of sabe or something like that.
Yeah, I've
Or
heard it
to
before.
know.
Do you know why I knew that?
Why did you know that?
The Expanse uses it. So clearly they've done some research into
got an
Creoles
author
and
who's
they've
done
they've
research.
taken some stuff across.
Yeah, that's
I might have said I don't know, but that would actually be I know no.
I don't know.
I don't know.
no.
Notice how the negative is just dropped in front of the verb, like in lots of languages.
Okay, cool.
Okay, now I want you to focus on this word, day. What does this mean? How you day?
How's your day going?
Like g'day or hello, like a greeting.
Ben's closer.
Yeah!
This one means how are you? The day is a little bit of a false friend. It's not today or day. It's actually how you say am or is or are.
Oh, that is interesting. I didn't see that.
How you is.
Yeah, exactly.
you is.
How you day. Now, it's not used as is all the time. For example, if you wanted to say Mary is sick, you wouldn't say Mary day sick. You just say Mary sick.
Okay.
Mary sick. If you did say Mary day sick, that would mean she is becoming sick.
Ah.
It's like our is being or is getting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Next one. I go land you slap.
I go land you slap.
I go land you slap.
I'm going there. Do you understand me?
Okay.
No, I'm thinking it's I go land you slap. I'm going home to sleep.
Oh, good guess. No, you're both wrong. It means I'm going to slap you.
I'm going to land a slap on you.
Oh, is that what it is?
Well, when you slap someone, it lands. I'm just guessing here, but
Wow,
yeah.
that's
I'm going to
cool.
land a slap on you. Okay.
But it's easy to tell what the go means, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're thinking about,
I
go.
do. I am going to.
It's just a future marker.
Cool.
Next one. The word that I'm focusing on for this one is don.
Don
The man don delete.
has. The man's deleted something.
Okay.
It's like
The man is dead.
Kylie wins.
No! No! Delete is dead? That's brutal.
That's right. But the don means has. It's an aspectual marker that
Yeah.
we use like when we say I have eaten or something.
It's almost like I done, gone, and done it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
For example, on the BBC Pidgin page, it says BBC Pidgin service don start today. It has started today. Or BBC Pidgin don land, which means BBC Pidgin has arrived.
Right.
Yeah, there's that land again, right?
Cool.
Okay, next word that I want to focus on is...
Wait. Hang on. We've got to go back and unbox the fact that they're using delete for die. That's intense.
Well, it is, but it's just, again...
It seems to be a bit of, bringing in the modern understanding.
That's-
I mean, that's what I thought you delete.
So
It's-
cool.
normal
Dead.
semantic shift.
You're
that we
right,
have.
but Can you not say to me that if you were reading a book in the early 90s where a Creole that involved the word delete to mean die, that would not be like a real kooky sci-fi novel?
It's actually...
I feel like the future is now with that language, right?
Isn't that from Brazil?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Thank you.
Let's focus on the word fit. Here's one of the headlines from BBC Pidgin. China, how you fit become millionaire on top internet.
How are you sort of fixing to become the big top dog in internet business?
All right, interesting.
How you fit become top. How you can become. Yeah. Do you want to become the next top dog in internet in China? This is how you do it.
Okay, that's a really, really good guess. And that's what I would have said because that's like Ave, fitna, right? It turns out that in West African Pidgin, it's more like maybe or might be. Okay. How you might become a millionaire on top of the internet. And I love on top as a preposition. That's great. There are other words like bin, which is a past perfect marker. Mary bin left, which means she had left.
Yep.
I've heard that one before.
There's also the word na, which is like focusing or emphasizing something. You can say dis the message from us, but you can also say dis na the message from us. This
now,
one.
this thing.
Except it doesn't mean now, it just means this is a focal marker.
Right. So it is literally a non-vocabulary unit.
Yep. These things don't mean what they used to mean. They're now grammaticalized.
Do we have a version of that in English?
Oh, well, remember how we talked about
focus marker? I don't think we do we?
Well, you could use like that way.
Yes, that's
true.
Yeah.
That is like so true, Daniel.
Thank you.
That's what's happening.
So let's go back to our original sentence. The work of this group, to see how countries use sun produce solar energy, could be translated, the work of this group, this specific group that we're focusing on.
I can see why nah is a more efficient way to do it than what you've just done.
To see how countries could use sun to produce solar energy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I want to learn Pidgin.
Kind of.
Yeah. I'm thinking might just tune into the radio broadcast and have it playing in the background. Oh, okay, here's a way of
Do you reckon that's in the same way that African American English is more or less the cool internet English, we're going to start seeing West African Pidgin becoming the cool internet English?
Well, it's certainly on the rise. And with the BBC pumping out all these stories, it's just kind of cool to listen in and see how much you understand and see if you can get a feel for this really excellent way of speaking.
Well, this is just the very coolest thing. And, hey, I want to put a challenge out there. Mm-hmm. Do we have any people listening who can speak West African Pidgin? If so, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about it? I was watching the promo material for this and, looking at the video of the people who are going to be working on this, and this is their native language. And the reaction that I get from them is just that they're amazed. They're amazed and in disbelief that this language of theirs, which has been stigmatized, because, kids used to be punished for speaking this.
Yeah.
They're proud and they're happy that this language is being taken up like this, because I think they're so accustomed to their language having a lower status. And this is it must be terribly affirming.
It's a great sign for so many other languages out there.
I was about to say, ABC Aboriginal English.
Hey, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
There are other languages that are coming up, like, for example, in Africa, the BBC is going to be putting out Igbo, Yoruba, and Amharic. In India, they're going to be producing things in Gujarati, Marathi, and Punjabi, and Telugu, and Korean. So West African Pidgin is joining an elite group of languages, and this is really boosting its status.
Good job, BBC. English people, you did a lot of damage there. Quite a lot of damage. But I guess your radio programs are trying to fix it just a little bit.
Well, it's not a stretch to say that this one event marks a new stage in the life of this language, so we'll see how that goes.
Great. And let's take a track in the meantime.
Yeah, let's hear one from Afrobeat legend Prince Nico Mbarga. This track is Sweet Mother. And I want you to notice the word day and how it's used. This is on RTR FM 92.1.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's main event. In the blue corner, we have existing language. And the challenger in the red corner, word of the week.
We got really political last time.
We got so political.
And it was delicious.
Mm-hmm.
But I've set a challenge for myself. No political words.
For how long?
This episode.
Look, you're setting your sights achievably, and I appreciate that.
Thanks. Let's start with this word. What would you call a photo of someone that looks spontaneous but was actually carefully contrived?
Ooh, a composed-see?
Oh, that's pretty good.
Oh, that's no.
I like.
See.
A
composy.
A Lizzie?
Posleroid?
Oh, hey, that's pretty good.
You guys are all right. It appears that people are settling on plandid.
Oh.
It's planned, but it's candid. Well,
Plandid.
it's supposed to be
Plandid
candid.
shot.
Oh, you just found me standing
Yeah.
here with my fabulous couture gown coming
Yeah.
off from this conveniently placed plane, holding what I think is something that you would like to buy. Oh, surprise!
Wow, we really
Quick,
went
take-
down a rabbit hole there.
USA Today says the goal of the plandid is to pose as if you have no clue someone is taking your picture. And I like this because I hate smiling in photos. I'd much rather look away or...
There is a very Russian part of you.
Yes, if the smile is going to be a smile, it's got to be a real smile.
Yeah, it's got to be an involuntary action.
All right, next one. After planned, what would you call someone who likes to stream movies from unofficial sources?
A pirate?
Yes, that's it. That's piracy.
Also, Ben?
Possibly. Kind of a pirate?
A pirate?
Bite.
A streamer? No, I got nothing.
I
What?
love where you're going
Stream-
with this.
Striminal.
A striminal. Oh, I like that.
Did you guess that?
I did.
Is that what it is called?
In fact, media advocacy group Anatomy Media thinks that the term striminal will give it just the right amount of stigma. They say these streaming millennial criminals are what we call striminals. Watch what they want, when they want, where they want, and they don't pay for it. It's a shame they weren't able to work in the millennials part.
Well, they did.
They
Striminal. I feel like the middle part is probably millennial.
Well, now that would be like striminallennial.
No,
Millennium.
Yeah, it's like an enemy. Don't hurt yourself. It just sounds too much like strudel, and I just can't attach anything but positive connotations to strudel.
Check out this quote from Anatomy Media. Most of those in the 18 to 24 demo don't even think it counts as piracy if they're merely streaming a TV show or movie instead of downloading it onto their computer or phone.
That I do believe, because I'm a media studies teacher and teenagers are really dumb. Like, really dumb. When they've got incredible selective intelligence, they can be like just so woefully stupid when it benefits them.
This is interesting, though, because it reminds me of work by George Lakoff about idealized cognitive models. The idealized cognitive model of stealing is that you break a window and take something that doesn't, and then it's like a physical object. Streaming a movie or something just doesn't fit most people's idealized cognitive model of stealing.
That's always been the problem with people ripping off music, because they say, "What? But the album's still there on the shelves if I wanted to buy it, but I just wanted this one song, so there's no harm."
Speaking of streaming, this takes us to our last one. I noticed a tweet from Grizzly Bear about their new album. It says, "You're just going to stream our new album and not buy it? Right in front of my salad?" And I thought,
What?
Right in front of my salad? Oh,
Have you heard of this meme?
As in, we can only afford salad?
No.
Oh.
This is a new meme. I'm glad you guys haven't heard this. because
Yeah, you've got
this
your
is
finger on the pulse big
This
time
was
this
a new
time.
one for me. Warning, this is going to get a little bit porny. Because
Oh, yes!
this one comes from
Insert
a porno.
soundtrack behind this.
Well, there's a film that came out in late July. Two guys are very obviously having sex in the kitchen in front of their unsuspecting friend who is eating a salad. She's not a woman laughing alone at salad, by the way.
Right.
Oh, yes, that's another famous meme, yeah.
But gradually she realizes what's going on and delivers the now famous line.
No.
Are you serious?
Not what it looks
Right in front of my salad?
That's it. Right in front of my salad.
So that's taken from a porn film.
Yes.
Where two gay men are getting it on.
Yep.
And she's just like, right in front of my salad. Does she then get involved in the scene?
No, she leaves.
I'm taking my salad and I'm going!
I just love that clearly in a certain part of gay porn, having a pissed off straight woman heightens the masturbatory experience for the consumers of the porn.
This is a thing.
Like normal gay sex, great. normal gay sex with pissed off straight woman. Fantastic.
That's like amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, I've decided that my ambition is to be a character in a porn movie that doesn't actually have sex.
Non-sexual porn
non-sexual
extra.
porn star.
Yes. You could just be the person who's just like,
Oh, for
just
Pete's sake.
right-
What are you?
right here.
Right in front of my salad.
To anyone out there who's looking for a background,
Yeah. If you need a non-sexual porn extra,
that
just
looks
let
like
Daniel
that
know.
linguistics guy from the podcast. What's he doing, frowning into his salad whilst everybody? Oh,
Right in front of my salad.
Do you know
Good
what
job, Grizzly Bear.
Do you know what the coolest thing about this meme is, though? Somebody made a GIF of it, as you do.
As you do,
The
because
most
GIFs are, as we have discussed, the most beautiful and holy thing in the world.
The most popular GIF has my handwriting font in it.
No!
you're kidding!
There it
No,
is.
that's Daniel Font.
That's Daniel
Daniel
font.
font is right in front of the salad.
Now, Daniel.
Daniel, you're in porn.
Daniel.
I guess I am.
Daniel,
Yes?
look me in the eyes.
Yes?
Did you make this?
I did not make this GIF. Somebody else made it, and I am just stoked
Chuffed.
as can be. Thanks
You are
to
fine.
You're
whoever
happy.
did that.
You know what, Daniel? You're happier than two gay men who have just pissed off a straight woman. Well, now that we've talked about what are we?
Is there anything we haven't talked about this episode?
Gay porn, illegal streaming, and what was our first one? Oh yeah, candid selfies.
Oh, look, it
that's
just
right.
so happens I have my salad here. Where are the men?
Splendids.
I've got one for you guys this week.
Oh, got one what?
A word of the week.
Have you really?
I've brought one to the table.
All right.
Slapped it down. Here we go. Do you guys know what extra means?
Oh, so extra.
So extra.
I have been meaning to tackle this one, and you know what? I don't actually know.
Okay, so
Kylie?
I have no idea whatsoever.
right. I'm going to send through a bunch of GIFs to your phone, Daniel, right? Because this was used for me in a text message recently in reference to like a friend of a friend's engagement party invite, right? And it was super over the top. And she's like, my friends are so extra. Look at this invite.
I was going to say over the top.
Right.
That's what I would have thought,
And
yeah.
so I was like, I'm going to need you to fill me in. Could you explain what extra means? And then because I was feeling like a bit of a cheeky dickhead, I was like, in GIF form. And this person sent me through like 5 GIFs that are actually, I maintain that GIFs are one of the most efficient semantic communication mechanisms out there. Because in these 5 GIFs, I was like, I perfectly understand what extra means now. Just flawless.
We'll slap it up on the blog.
All right. With that in mind, with my extra brought to the table,
Thank you very much.
shall we extra our way out of here on a track?
Yep, let's listen to Grizzly Bear with their new track Morning Sound on RTR FM 92.1 right in front of your salad.
front of my salad.
With a
front of your
Daniel
salad.
font.
You're here in the closing minutes of Talk the Talk. There was something that jumped out at me with that song by Prince Nico Mbarga. If you listen back, he used a word a couple of times, well, 2 different words. One was my piquinho, and the other a variation on that, my piquin, which means my baby, my child. Now, I mentioned that a lot of Pidgin/Creole languages have a word for save, to know, like sabe or save or something like that. But a lot of them also have, bizarrely, a word like that, piquin or pequeño or piquinho or piquin or something like that, and that means child in all of these languages. Even though these languages arise from very different circumstances, at least we think so, although one hypothesis about how these languages get to be is that there was originally one Portuguese version of the language and it just traveled everywhere, the monogenesis theory. So I'm not sure I buy it, but it sure is striking to hear it in that song. Mike phoned up. You know, we mentioned in the first part that a part of our brain, the superior temporal gyrus, is good for picking out one voice in a noisy room. Well, he phoned up and told me that he had seen something like a hearing aid that could do the same thing. So, acting on that hot tip, I cruised over to the internet and found something talking about a product from Siemens. I'll just read this. The wearable hearing tech can automatically kill noise and let you control the microphone's direction with a smartphone to better pick up a voice in a noisy room. Siemens says the tech has been clinically proven to outperform people with normal hearing in background noise. The system works with an Android or iOS EasyTech app to help you better hear sounds in any direction, especially with 2 hearing aids. Wow, that sounds like a superior temporal gyrus on the outside of your body. Sounds lots of fun, doesn't it? Actually, or it sounds kind of evil. Well, everything fun is evil. No further word on this that I can find from Siemens. Dawn has sent us a message. She says, when speaking about someone who has fallen down outside, why do people say they hit their head on the floor, not the ground? I've noticed it's very common when watching TV from the UK, but this has started to be used in Oz and on the news in Perth. Why is this being used? Okay, well, I guess conceptually, floor and ground are not too big a stretch. They're both things that you stand on, and so I can see a little bit of shift. It is a little curious. So I decided to take a look into corpus, the corpus of contemporary American English. You can check it out yourself on wordandphrase.info. And I found that according to the things in this corpus, the word floor means a lot of things. People use the floor to refer to, yes, the ground outside, but also the bottom of your car is the floor, like your car floor. The place you stand on a bus or a train or a plane, also a floor. And of course, the time when people vote in Congress or Parliament. It fails every time it's been brought to the floor. So floor is used metaphorically in lots of ways, so I guess it shouldn't be surprising when there's a little bit of convergence going on and people say that people hit their head on the floor when they actually are hitting their head on the dirt or the grass or something like that. This isn't just in English either. I was having a conversation about viticulture in Spanish. I wasn't doing very well. I was able to follow it until I couldn't. At some point, I realized I was not comprehending anything, and I realized that I had made a little mistake. The guy was talking about el suelo, the floor. The floor was really good in this part, and I just... why was he talking about the floor? I couldn't figure it out until I finally realized floor in Spanish and soil are handled by the same word, suelo, at which point I was able to rejoin the conversation. So it's not just English. Floor is pretty flexible as a concept, and that's just one of our brain's special abilities. I would like to thank everyone for listening to this episode. I would like to thank Ben and Kylie, and I would like to thank all of our question askers. You should definitely keep listening because Mark Neal is going to be taking up the next show, which is Out to Lunch. Loads and loads of really good new music. And of course, I will be back again for another episode next week. But until then, keep talking.
This has been an RTR-FM podcast. RTR-FM is an independent community radio station that relies on listeners for financial support. You can subscribe online at rtrfm.com.au/subscribe.
Our theme song is by R Trees, and you can check out their music on rtrees.com and everywhere good music is sold.
We're on Twitter at TalkRTR. Send us an email, talkthetalk@rtrfm.com.au. And if you'd like to get lots of extra linguistic goodies, then like us on Facebook or check out our Patreon page. You can always find out whatever we're up to by heading to talkthetalkpodcast.com.